Hello, Brilliant One. Welcome to Billionaire Brilliance with your coach, mentor, and guide, Anna McCoy. I'm a bit quirky, funny, fascinating, and absolutely serious about your good success. You're listening to the Business and Faith podcast for entrepreneurs to help you win in business and life.
Say what you see, believe you will be. Ooh, if you can see it, it's your mindset. You can achieve it, adjust your mindset.
Welcome, Brilliant Ones. Thank you for tuning in. Our topic is the self-first mindset, your ultimate investment. This episode is the second pillar of the 7-pillar Billionaire Brilliant system. I am absolutely excited about this episode for several reasons. Self-care saved my life. Number 2, changing and shifting and redefining selfishness gave me the power to evolve and to change. Now, I'm a person, I love business principles, models, and processes. I love connecting them to how I live. Years ago, I discovered the reason why the business world thrived. They wrote systems, processes, standards of operations, and policies. All of these things help them to grow the business. One model that I personally used is the 6 Thinking Hats by Edward de Bono. Maybe you're familiar with it, but the model helps to cultivate creativity, innovation, and problem solving by approaching problems from 6 different perspectives, represented by 6 different colored hats. I remembered using this model in a client training, and it was a huge success. In fact, a hat of each color, and I took them to the strategy session. I put posters up to remind the team what each hat meant and that they could only respond to the problem we were solving based on the hat that was given to them. Now, the strategy session was successful, and with each problem we addressed, the members had to switch their hats, which allowed 6 different perspectives to solve the problem. So today, I am sharing the 6 Thinking Hats model with you so that it gives you a tool to embrace a self-first mindset. This is not about being selfish, as many of you will have that first reaction, primarily because it is so ingrained in our belief system to prefer others over ourselves, when in fact, none of us really do it. Humanity, in all of its form, is about self-preservation. Now that we've kind of got that out of the way, let's figure out how these 6 principles of the self-first mindset, using the 6 Thinking Hats technique, will help us to shift the way we see selfishness. Now, just before I dive into these 6 principles, I want to encourage you to get your pen, get your notes, get your note on your phone, whatever you're doing, because I want to provide you with a tool that is going to help you really see this in a way that you can own it. So I want you to take a note, to look in your closet later to see if you have a hat of all 6 of these colors. I'm telling you that when I learned these principles about the 6 Thinking Hats, I got all 6 colors, right? Because as I was trying to solve a problem, trying to figure it out, I put a hat on based on what it represented and only allowed my mind to think about that particular principle to help bring a perspective to solving the problem. And that is what this episode is all about. And I want to teach you these 6 principles so that you use these techniques, the 6 Thinking Hats, to begin to challenge yourself in each one of these areas to help to develop the habit of this principle by wearing the hat. So let's jump into this right now, and hopefully this is going to make sense to you. The first principle that I want to share with you is clarity. And we're going to call that the white hat, clarity, because it is necessary for you to be able to see, to have clarity, to be clear about who you are, what you want, how you want to move forward in life. This is about gaining clarity on your values, your priorities, and your goals. So we use the white hat to approach this principle with a clear and objective perspective. So what that means is that if you are thinking, for example, why is it necessary for us to change the way we see selfishness? What I haven't said yet, that I know you're probably thinking about, if you're a person who shows up for everyone, they're expecting you to show up. If you're a person who absolutely exhausts yourself being a people pleaser, I'm talking about you. If you're a person who maybe you find it hard to say no, or maybe don't know how to say no, well, what I'm really saying is you're preferring others over yourself. One of the greatest lessons you will learn, oftentimes through pain and suffering, is how to say no. When you learn how to say no, you're saying yes to yourself. A few years ago, I went through a divorce, and I was always the person in my family, like the go-to person, always had time to help a person with a problem. I found myself responding to other people's emergencies all the time. And here's the real deal. It's like your people know you can solve a problem, right? That's not a problem to solve other people's problems. But the problem is, when you have a problem, who's going to help you solve your problem? What I recognized going through those challenges was I had not placed a priority on myself. Even going through the pain and the suffering of divorce and changing lives is what you do, right? I had not considered, nor did I have any clarity once I was going through that, because I had spent 18 years being a particular person, a married person, a part of a unit, making decisions with someone else. And then now I've got to look at life differently. And I was not as clear about how I was going to go forward, how I was going to make a new life for myself. So when it comes to this idea of a self-first mindset, self-care is necessary. I do not understand how people go through major life situations and don't pull back to find that clarity for themselves, for people around them. And so the first step that we have to look at when we're trying to adopt and embrace a self-first mindset is you need to have clarity. So the white hat represents clarity. It represents you being objective about what you're trying to move through, about your own life, about what's important to you. It's often said when you go through major changes, major challenges, or have major life events, don't make any decisions, any important decisions like spending money, moving, new relationships. It's important. And the reason why you shouldn't do it is because you don't have clarity. And you'll find yourself doing everything for everyone else because you're in an emotional state of mind that you can't be the best guide for yourself. So you got to choose to take care of yourself, and you need clarity to do that. One of the ways that I did get some clarity was to go to a different place, a different location. I had the opportunity to spend time in Aruba for a period of time to gain that clarity. I created, and I know it sounds a cliche, but it was so helpful. I created a vision board to help me see myself in the future. I tell you, and without it, I was just, scrolling alone, people, scrolling alone. And you know what that means, right? Let's swipe up, swipe up, swipe up, swipe up. Some of y'all swiping left, left, right, swipe up. And I'm just saying, is at the end of the day, you have to find that clarity. Now, the hat comes in as a reminder that whatever situation you're facing about placing yourself first, put on the hat. You don't have any clarity about this. So put on the hat so you can figure out how to be first in your own life, to your own self. The next one is intention. And before I move to that, I want to say this is clarity is also honor. Now I know that's kind of interesting, right? It's learning how to honor yourself. Many of us, whatever situations we find ourselves in, whether it's a breakup from a relationship, it's a breakup from a partnership in business, whatever the case may be, most times we aren't breaking up just to be breaking up, but oftentimes it's because we dishonor each other. And sometimes we do things for other people because we're dishonoring ourselves and we don't have the value or the worth in our own selves. So we give our lives over to anything, like to just do anything, and then we complain about it later. Well, let's go to the next one, intention. Intention is the red hat. Set clear intentions for what you want to achieve and focus your energy and resources on those goals. Use the red hat to approach the principle with passion and emotion. Create a plan of action to help you achieve those goals. When I think about this idea of having a self-first mindset, I really did do this, guys, is that coming through that experience, I was always the go-to person, right? And then I realized, you know what? You think you want more for other people than they want for themselves. And you're doing all these things, but you don't want this for yourself. That your highest good is not important enough for you to take action and to be intentional about what's important to you. And so put on that red hat. That red hat represents your emotion and your passion. And one of the things that is so amazing to me today, this is several years after those moments, and not that it hasn't been more in the process, but today I live in passion. I live in joy. I live in love and in generosity. But then I was losing my way. I was exhausted. I was trying to figure it out for everybody else. And it was like I met Pat Pearson. She's the author of Stop Self-Sabotage. She and I did an amazing episode that was also voted as one of the best episodes of the year. And she and I talked about this idea of Billionaire, Brilliance, and Stop Self-Sabotage, which is a book she wrote a few years ago. And I heard Pat Pearson actually speaking for a group of us who came together, a mastermind group. And she was talking, I was right in the throes of everything. And she was talking about the drama triangle. She's a clinical therapist or something like that. But she's got some receipts, in other words. And so we're sitting there and we're talking about it, and she's starting to share with the leadership group that I was in. And she started talking about how we are the rescuers in the victims, and how we want to take care of other people and rescue them from their issues. and the light went on. I said, oh my God, I'm a rescuer. I had been a rescuer, and here I thought I was a solutionist. I thought I was a problem solver, and I was taking on everybody's problems because it was so easy, I thought, for me to solve. But what I really recognized is that I was in a drama triangle. Like it was just going over and over, and I couldn't get myself out of it because I had adopted this idea of being a rescuer, of being a person of service to other people. And I didn't understand that I was really a victim. When I understood I was a victim, I had to change my intention. Okay? I had to get my own emotion and passion back and had to realize that my coming to people's rescue was really a dishonor to them. Really, it was not the highest possible good for them when I wanted more for them than they wanted for themselves. So when I think about this self-first mindset, I had to become far more intentional in considering myself and thinking highly of myself and raising my deserve level, which I learned from Pat, by the way, is how to raise my deserve level. You are worthy, Anna. You are deserving of this. You need to change your intention about this. And I will be forever grateful to her for turning that light on for me. So when we think about these ideas, I had to create a plan of action. Now, I'm a bit crazy in some regards, but I created a plan of action to change how I was living, to change the people who were living with me, to change everything, y'all. Just everything. I changed my intention because the next principle is self-honor. I recognized that I really wasn't honoring myself. And self-honor is the black hat. Treat yourself with respect, compassion, and kindness. The kind of thing that you do for others, you've got to turn around and do for yourself. That's why this is a self-first mindset, that we learn these principles, we adopt these principles, we embrace these principles, and we act upon them for ourselves. It's just going to make you a better person for everyone else. So again, I begin to give myself self-honor through this process. And when we think about the black hat, it helps us to really approach whatever we're doing with a critical and cautious perspective. It's where, wait a minute, let me look at all of this. And you begin to look at that versus just going with it. You pause for a moment. You pause and you consider, press in so you can see, is this what I should be a part of? You learn in this stage with that black hat on, I need to set some healthy boundaries, and practice some self-care regularly. You need to start walking, people. You need to start praying, people. You need to start being quiet, meditating, whatever you do to take care of yourself. I had to change the way I was eating. I had gained weight. I felt like my body was totally inflamed. And eventually, I had to wear that black hat. I had to look at this in a critical way and being very cautious. What is really going on here was the question I started to ask. Why are you allowing these things to occur? And it's totally against your values. It's totally not in alignment with who you really know yourself to be. Anna, raise your deserve level is what I had learned and I started to do. Let's move on to the fourth principle, which is courage. This is the yellow hat. And this is really about stepping out of your comfort zone and pushing past your limitations. This is starting to have the courage to challenge your own thinking, to have the courage to say, maybe there's something different, to be optimistic and positive about yourself. Maybe start looking at yourself differently, at your talents, your skills, your abilities, and stop being so hard on yourself. So the day you wake up and you feel like this, I just, you never get it right, pick up the yellow hat In the yellow hat, you're only going to look at yourself with optimism and positivity. Now, if you want to be critical and cautious, or you need to go back and get the black hat. If you need more clarity, wear your white hat today. But if you wake up and you got issues, you got issue bees, as my sister would say, put on the yellow hat. The yellow hat is to help you to build your courage. It is to help you take the steps outside of that comfort zone, to go for it, and to be your best fan. I just love that. Be your best fan for yourself. Number 5, absolutely love this one. Through this process, years ago, I remember, I think it must be this thing when you pass 50, you get this unapologetic attitude, right? When it comes to your self-first mindset, you need this attitude of being unapologetic. Now, this is the green hat. This is where you believe in your worth and you refuse to apologize for prioritizing yourself and your needs. Okay? You got to put on this hat, this green hat. So when you're having a struggle, when you're trying to figure it out, you don't think you're good enough, you don't think that you could do this, that you shouldn't deserve this, or why are they considering you, when you're questioning who you are, pick up the green hat. This is where you need that unapologetic attitude. And you use the green hat to approach this principle with creativity and innovation. I just love it. You just refuse to apologize for this change you're making about yourself. I mean, wear that green hat as much as you can so that you really believe that you are worthy of self-care, and it's not being selfish, but it's necessary. This will help you find creative ways to prioritize yourself and your well-being, such as seeing others within your own time frame and setting aside time for your self-care and pursuing something that you wanted to do, but you kept putting it off. This is the moment that you're trying out a new hobby. When I had my organization, Woman Act Now, one of the things that I wrote in the book was called No More Pie Syndrome, which is all about dream busters. And dream busters are those things that we think about, those limiting beliefs, or maybe even ingrained ideas, or people that we give authority in our minds over our lives, who tell us certain things that we give too much weight to, and we never go after our dreams. So this idea of no more pie, the no more pie syndrome, there was a young lady who was one of the mentees and one of the attendees at one of my meetings, and she was a member of Woman Act Now, Harla. And Harla, I asked her to get up and write a circle on the board and to split it up in all these different areas, right? This is about prioritizing. I'm connecting this to the unapologetic attitude of wearing this green hat, and you'll see in just a moment. So I asked her to write the circle and put 8 slices of a pie there, like, just a small drawing. And so she was so excited and everything, and she's filling out her pie. And so I started asking, well, what are the priorities in your life? Oh, work, children, maybe house, business. And she went on, neighborhood, community, you name it. And she was all proud that she had filled out her pies. But the key was her pie slices. The key was that you have 8 slices of pie, but there are 10 people here. So what are you going to do? So I looked at Harla and I was like, well, you good with that, right? That pie you've just put together, and you've given everybody their piece of pie. And then she paused for a minute. She says, well, there's one thing wrong. I'm not on here. I don't get any pie. I got no more pie. And it's just like every good mother. If you got a pie and you got 8 slices, you are going to make a decision for everybody else in the room to eat some of that pie, even if you don't get any. Now, you might cut it up a little bit, 2 or 3 spaces, decide who's younger or older, however you figure it out. You're going to figure it out, and then you will lick the knife or the spoon or eat the crumbs that fell from the pie crust. That's just what we do. And I'm not saying that anything is wrong with that. That's just an example that oftentimes we're so busy being helpful for other people that we don't often think about ourselves. We're also very apologetic to people for when we do say no and we can't be a part of something, we feel guilty. And one of the most powerful things that I've learned is saying, I'm not doing that. No, I can't do that. No, I'm not coming. No, I can't be a part of that. At first, when I started to do this, yes, I felt a little guilty letting people down, but over time, it was really courageous. It was an act. It was taking action, right? It was moving and putting these things into action, these principles of intentioning, having more clarity around it, around what I was going to do, and having the courage to step outside of that comfort zone of always being the rescuer or always being the go-to person and saying, no, I can't do that. No, I'm not going to be a part of that. Which leads me to the final principle, which is really about implementation. When you think about reframing the way you see selfishness, it takes practice for you to be able to have a self-first mindset and to give self-care and self-worth, self-improvement really to yourself and allow yourself to grow. So this last hat is the blue hat. The blue hat is really about organizing and planning. And so how it works for you to implement, that is the last principle, is you have to begin to implement a self-first mindset into your life, meaning you have to create a plan of action on how you are going to prioritize yourself and your well-being and take these small steps every single day to incorporate them as principles of your life. You know, embracing a self-first mindset is not selfish. It's simply essential. When you prioritize your own well-being, you are able to show up as your best self for others. And then you get to create a life of joy, of fulfillment, and of success. And I know for me personally, when I began to raise those boundaries, healthy boundaries with people I love and I cared about, choosing to do things differently, choosing to be more intentional in how I was going to show up with passion, with love and joy in the world, how I was going to honor myself by being more critical and cautious in how I allowed myself to do things or to respond to others' needs more than I responded to my own pain, my own struggles, my own recovery in some cases. So this last principle is really about committing yourself to create your plan. How are you going to do it? What are you going to say? I can tell you, if you just say these few words, no, I am not doing that. No, I won't be going. No, no, and no. No is such a powerful word. Over time, those who are depending on you, they might get upset with you. They may be disappointed with you. And here's the thing, you gotta understand. The only reason why they are is because you are not attending to them. You are not making their lives easier, but they'll get over it soon. If you hold on and you stay committed to setting yourself first, to serving yourself first. You don't have to be ugly. You don't have to be angry. You don't have to do any of those things. You simply have to choose you by saying yes to yourself and no to others. I'm going to close with this. One of the things that I learned in this process of setting myself first is I really did get to discover some new hobbies, some new relationships, some new opportunities. I was inspired. I was inspired with creativity and all sorts of things because I narrowed my borders. I reclaimed my privacy. I got off of social media. I started to refocus my attention. I would sit down and I would draw, I would paint, and I was amazed at what the outcomes were. But those outcomes were there because I wasn't attending to other people's problems and other people's needs. Although I wanted to, but I had to stay the course so that I could become better. And I can tell you today, I'm not the go-to person. Why? Because people can do these things for themselves. And we just do too much for everybody else. So stay the course. And like every good preacher, you have 2 or 3 closes. So I'm about to close this now. And I just want you to think about these things, right? Is that simply put, live with intention, be courageous. And sometimes courage is simply starting over again tomorrow. Doesn't have to be amazing, doesn't have to be loud. You can grow in the silence, in your own peace. But it can be an unapologetic attitude, meaning you don't have to answer your critics. Move on. And then ultimately, find a way to implement these actions and be honorable to yourself. And being honorable to yourself is treat yourself with respect, compassion, and kindness. Know that you're loved, you're appreciated, you're celebrated, and you are valued. And thank you so much for listening today. You can join me at my Get Smart with AI courses. You can check it out on annamccoy.com or on the podcast program. Just click through there until you get to the Get Smart with AI, and I'll always have a link there for you. In addition to that, if you need coaching or training, I'm also available for that as well. So know that you're loved. Have a great day, and I'll see you next time. You're listening to the Business and Faith podcast on how to unlock your billionaire brilliance with Coach Anna McCoy to be more confident, make more money, and achieve your wildest dreams in business and in life.